Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get Wealthy Wednesdays. Our focus is to increase the knowledge of building generational wealth by speaking with industry leaders within our community. Tonight's episode is brought to you thanks to More Owned Businesses. Go to moreownedbusinesses.com where they promote products and services by Black-owned businesses, making it easier to build and support our community from within. So, hope everyone is doing well this evening. I want to welcome everybody back to Get Wealthy Wednesday. We are doing a special crypto edition, right? So what we want to do is talk about a lot of things that's happening in the crypto space right now. My man Trek, how you doing, sir?
Talking about this for a while.
Yeah. It's what I've been trying to get you on before. We took a small hiatus.
It's saying you got my mic muted.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good. And like I said, we wanted to get you on. We took a small hiatus from doing some of the Get Wealthy Wednesdays, but you know what? You sent me something in my inbox a couple days ago, and it was like, you know what? we gotta talk about this now, because there's a lot of things on the horizon that needs to be talked about. I mean, in the crypto space, we've been yelling from the rooftops for years, talking about, hey, get your Bitcoin, learn about this Bitcoin and blockchain space. But yeah, there's some major changes coming in. So what I want to do is start off, introduce you. Your name is Trek, the man with two Ks, and and but give us a little bit more information about yourself.
All right. So as Brendan said, I'm Trek with two Ks, and let me preface some things and put it in a certain context for y'all to understand where I'm at in the space now, where I started at, how I look going forward, and then X amount of the things I'm gonna say in this conversation that we have. I'm definitely not towing a lot of the feel-good public narrative lines that have really been going like wildfire today, and actually really for this month in the crypto space. So myself, I've been in this space since 2012ish, 2013. I first heard about it on a radio show called Off the Hook. If anybody knows about WBAI and that radio segment they had back in the day, I just heard something that talked about like digital money, and it was named Bitcoin, and they were like, well, what's going to happen? I don't remember nothing else about the rest of the episode. This was like 2010, 2011, and I instantly just thought, oh, snap. It's going to be Federation credits, and it's going to be Babylon 5 money. Like, I'm a sci-fi geek kid at heart, and that's instantly what I thought. Eventually, I got in, like I said, in the 2012, 2013 period. I wasn't a Mt. Gox person. I did spend crypto. I did lose crypto. I did hodl crypto. I told people stupid advice back in 2016 and 2017 because of not understanding the full scope of, yes, we have what we think in this space as far as how we want to operate, but then we also have the bigger, quote, real world. There are things that are playing out now for the integration of, say, of the two systems or the two communities. So the niche community of the cypherpunk mentality folks and this new technology or this new availability of how we look at money and how we can interact with it into the bigger mainstream. It's definitely a shift in this called mass adoption phase that we're going through right now. I've been in for a while now, where to look at it from back then to how things are moving now, it's a real big difference in the mentality of the folks that I see coming in now. and what they think about this thing. As for what I do, I have a consulting company called TrekSmart Consulting, where I focus on helping startups and new businesses understand what their brand echo is and how they develop that out if they are a company related to blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. Technically, what I do and how I look to help you build your brand echo can apply to any sector, but my focus is the blockchain crypto space. That's
cool,
me.
Man. Hey, man, you said a mouthful, man. I know you. You know what? I swear I've known you for years, but we only met at a Black Blockchain Summit here in DC, like last year. I swear, I don't know if it's like 2020 has got me in some like crazy vortex that make me feel like I've been in, been around for another 8 years or something. But I swear, I've known you for forever.
Yeah, this space definitely does that, bro. Like it sure does.
All right, man. So what we're gonna do? I'm gonna start off with a couple of your tweets. Hey, I know. Hey, look, it's gonna be all right, man. I kept it clean. So what we're gonna do is start off with a couple of your tweets that I want to start to get this conversation going.
Gotcha.
All right. So here we go. All right. So we start off with the pinned tweet here. And let me get us all in there. Actually, this first one, I seen this a while back. I was like, all right, because a lot of people don't think about this, right? Technology being bidirectional, right? And you just give us a little bit of your reason behind what you tweeted.
So technology is a double-edged sword, as I see it, right? Most technologist people will argue that technology is not bad. It is the motivation and the agendas of the people who implement the technology. A true quant, a person who's really just about like logic and being able to figure something out as a yes or no, can it be executed? They don't necessarily attach all of the moralities and the good and evil side of it. It's like, hey, I figured out how to, be able to make this thing called a gun shoot 120 rounds in, like, let's say, 60 seconds.
Right.
Now, the person who's a pacifist is like, well, no, this is a bad thing. The quant is like, no, I just figured out how to make something more efficient.
Right.
This is technology in regards to the basic nature of, yes, we figure out how to make some things more efficient. We figured out that, don't worry about carrying gold around in your pocket because it's real bulky. Let's have these things called promissory notes, dollar bills, right?
Yeah.
That at a certain point got to like, oh man, who wants to have a stack of those in your wallet or your purse? Let's get into credit cards. And now we're like, who wants to deal with credit cards? Because if your credit card gets stolen, then you got identity fraud. You know what?
Right.
Let's just put this in a digital medium that you carry around with you all the time.
Right.
Now, again, the double nature of it is it gave us great efficiency for how we transported, how we stored, how we received, and how we spent money. But the other side of it is we're losing the positive control of our money, and we're losing the privacy factor in our money. And then we're being, let's say, conditioned to think that certain things like, quote, KYC under the AML5 is a mandatory thing needed in order for you to hold money, spend money, receive money, where no, that's not a natural part of money. If you're talking about an exchange of value, that's not how that works in its basic form. We're adding all of these other things into it. Why? Because now we have technology that allows us to do that.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I think it's one of the things that we talk about in whether it's going to be in computers or, or any type of ethics class. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Right. So there's a lot of different things that we are creating, whether it's smartphones is making people dumb, whether it's the crypto space. I mean, I swear, when I was growing up, obviously there were no smartphones. You memorized everybody's number. You did everything. You knew where everybody lived. Everybody, you knew everything. I mean, I can still call my grandmother's phone number from 1980 because it's still in my memory. Now, somebody that I met 2 weeks ago, I'm like, if it ain't in my phone,
right?
It's a done deal. So some of these,
but technology will have you go, well, wait, they on Facebook, right? Or wait, they on Instagram, or wait, they on LinkedIn, or wait, I think I remember some of their email,
right?
so I can go search it that way. You have this other whole new way of like searching for people.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a double-edged sword too, right? Because this is where your information is all over everywhere. Like, hey, it's easy to find somebody, but at the same time, is it safer? Is there a lot of other different factors that we're not thinking about that, we've done all these things to make things easier for ourselves and anyone else, whether their motives are nefarious or not, right? So exactly. So yeah, so once I saw that tweet, I was like, yeah, all right, that's that's something that a lot of people don't think about, especially when it comes into the topic that we're going to be in today, right? So this other tweet, oh boy, let's just go straight to it. And we're going to jump in here and
yo,
oh boy, all right.
So let me tell you what ended up happening, right? So there's a guy, like, let me go back to the point of, I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not the most, academically educated person. I don't got no number of like letters behind my name or nothing. I'm just somebody who has been in this space long enough, and I pay attention to the things for people who are way smarter than me say, and then I just start to connect dots. And that's what is the whole hashtag qualitative observation thing is about, where I just start connecting dots.
Right.
Over the weekend, there's a guy named Simon Dixon.
Hey, before you get into that, I just want to read the tweet for our listeners that may not be able to watch this. So what he stated in his tweet was, IMF officially announcing upgrading the Bretton Woods agreement, but we in the state making fun of Ice Cube for taking some level of action by talking to the blue and red gang. And he actually has a GIF on there that says, I'll take missing the point for 500, Alex. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that's going on right now that we're putting our energies in the wrong place, and something as big as Bretton Woods is something that we need to discuss. So now you can go into what you were talking about.
Okay, so there's a guy named Simon Dixon. He is a traditional, I think, banker. He used to work out in, I think he's British. I don't remember if he's British or Australian, but I think he's British. And so he did like an emergency video on YouTube over, I think it was like Saturday. And usually he doesn't do stuff like that. And it just read like IMF talking about new Bretton Woods agreement. I was like, wait, what? Oh, now for those of you who do not know what IMF is or what the Bretton Woods agreement is, IMF is the International Monetary Fund. They are not actually a entity beholden to a sovereign state. They're not a part of a country. They're a bigger group that is recognized across the globe by different states, by financial institutions. And so their thing from back in the, 30s, so that's like World War I, World War II thing, was about, hey, we need to come up with a better financial system that works to deal with more being able to control how state actors and financial institutions, as far as the currency and the monetary system in those areas, are more coordinated and centralized in nature. And so in the 30s, you have the Bretton Woods Agreement, which takes place in Europe, and there's like 20 or 30 something guys, literally all guys, that meet together and say, hey, we're going to do this thing where we take out what currency would be backed by, which traditionally was gold at the time. So now you get to what's his name, Nixon. When people talk about Nixon taking the US off of the gold standard, it was because of the Bretton Woods Agreement. That was what put the whole thing into place, to have all of the different sovereign countries say, hey, we're not going to do the gold back thing anymore for our currency, because it limits our ability to be able to create more money within the system. So that's what was going on. And some people will argue like, well, that was the Keynesian plan. if you talk to like hardcore economists, folks, they'll tell you like, no, this is not Keynesian, what they came up with and what we implemented. And once they started saying, let's just like take away all of the backing, definitely not the Keynesian stuff. Arguably, this is like modern, what do they call it? Modern money theory that's going on right now, especially because here in the States, you have the Federal Reserve. Well, the Federal Reserve is printing the money on behalf of the Treasury, which is really crazy, because at the end of the day, even though there was, quote, more money in the system, it doesn't mean that that's what's happening down here at the local level for like the me and you everyday people. The money's going to the financial systems that are up here, and the trickle economics theory that is supposed to say, well, if you give the money to the central banks up here, they're supposed to dispense it out down here to those of us in the everyday Main Street society. That is so not what's happening. They're giving it to the Wall Street folks at a 0% interest, and then those folks are doing things of extrapolating the value from that money that they're getting for free, because they're at the closest part of the production of the money, the Federal Reserve. This is a thing called the Cantillon effect, which basically means the closer you are to the source of production, the higher and the better you have the chances of being able to extrapolate the value of the money. That's what the central banks, that's what the Wall Street folks have in their back pocket. They got direct money to the bank. By the time we see it, the bank says, hey, I'm gonna give you this super high, I catch myself, this super high interest fee, and I wanted an X amount of time. And then they give me the money, I go put the money in my bank, and then my bank ends up lending out the money again. That's called rehypothecation. You can take $10,000 from an initial bank, rehypothecate it down, I think, what is it, like 9 or 10 times, and make that into $100,000 in the system. It doesn't mean that there's actually a new $100,000 of like ones and twos and Benjamins and Washingtons. It means that digitally within the system, you took $10,000 and rehypothecated it out to different individuals getting loans, and that made $100,000 in total.
Right.
I know I just dropped a whole ton of stuff on people right now, but the point about this whole IMF situation is what they are basically arguing is they want to do a upgrade in bringing in more digital elements that would allow for a more, as they see it, a more positive and conducive environment to being able to give loans out to countries directly. And if you know anything about how the loans go, when an IMF give a country a loan, guarantee within 5 years that country has an economic issue and then has to give up X amount of its sovereignty and its resources to the IMF. Exactly. History shows us this all the time when it comes to them. But the idea, again, of what they're looking to do is, hey, we want to come up with what I call the CBDC. Well, sorry. The CBDC stands for Central Digital.
We're going to get into that.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get into that.
It plays into their thing. So we're going to get to that point of it. The bottom line is they're looking to upgrade it, and it's not going to be about having cash. Now, at a certain level, the everyday Jane Doe person, it isn't necessarily what's going to be directly to you. It's going to be what's to your country. It's going to be what's to the financial structure and the environment that your country works on. They want to have that direct route to be able to tap in and push and move money around as they see fit, which eventually then trickles down to you as the individual, Jane and Joe.
So as I said, we're going to definitely touch into that, because what we're getting into is this central bank control that they've always had, right? And now with the introduction of, crypto, Bitcoin, and all these things, we're starting to step on a lot of toes of what they've always controlled, right? So now, I actually had a couple of more tweets on the topic of IMF and the Bretton Woods. So there's a lot of different things that was out here, that was coming across the pipe was just within the last couple of days. So just understanding, you gave a wonderful explanation of what the Bretton Woods monetary conversations work. So that actually puts this into perspective of going into our next topic, which you've already pretty much touched on, which is the CBDCs. Man, all right. So a lot of people, and I have a couple of tweets up here, whether it's from Eric Voorhees or right there on Coinbase, talking about CBDC bridging this gap, being this little crossover method of not necessarily of going from the fiat that we all know and love to a digital currency. So give us a little bit more information about these CBDCs or the central bank digital currency that are trying to creep their way into the economy as we know it.
All right, so let's put some context, right? First, CBDCs, again, are central bank digital currencies, and I call them blue dogs, right? If you follow me and you see my stuff on LinkedIn, I kind of go in sometimes. The idea behind calling them blue dogs is this. There's the cliche saying about, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And in traditional finance, as far as how it has been going on for like the last couple hundred years, the whole idea is to centralize and control the economic movements of the sovereign country and then the people that make up that sovereign country, right? We're at a point now where the technology allows financial institutions to be able to say, hey, we can do it in a way that we could not do it with hard currency fiat, which means if you had a $1 or $10 in your bill, the bank didn't know if you went to the grocery store, if you went to the crack dealer. All the bank knows is you took out money and then you went someplace and did something with it. And then at some point within the whole thing of money velocity, it comes back into the system and then they push it over to the treasury. They burn off X amount of it and then put digital money back into the system, right? So now CBDCs go, you know what? I'm going to say blue dogs from this point on.
Right. Now, oh no, you keeping some of my listeners with this CBD talk. So, you can keep saying it like,
right. All right, I'll jump back.
But no.
So with the CBDCs, the idea is that, with the blue dogs is why I say this is because traditional institutions, as far as the financial side of it, those are the old dogs. What they are now looking to do, and this is where the IMF comes in, this is where central banks come in, this is where your Venmo, your Chime, your WeChat, your Cash App, your Square, your Facebook, all of these come into play in that you have the traditional concepts of banking just being upgraded. So in marketing, right, visually speaking, the color blue is used to give that thing of the techiness of it, the sci-fi-ness of it, the new of it, right? So if it's an old dog that you're trying to teach new tricks, but you can't teach an old dog new tricks, just paint it blue, and I call it a blue dog. Right? So now what we have happening here, and it's going on in various different countries in various different ways, is there is a testing and a prodding of the society, the community, or the citizens of various countries. How likely are they to adopt the early version or a kind of different version of a CBDC? So what was it, last week, earlier in this month, you had China do their version of the what is it, the
yuan.
Is the yuan, but I forgot the name of their banking institution that actually did it. So how they tested it out on the public was, hey, we're going to give out, I think, what was an equivalent of like 20 million in USD. And so they said, in order for you to get this, though, you got to download this app. Yo, it was like, I think they said the numbers were like 50 million people downloaded the app in order to get that free yuan. And it was a CBDC. So understand, the thing about CBDCs, that's the real, like, for a techie person, or at least those of us who have that cypherpunk mentality, this is the gateway into programmable money. And I'm gonna get into the programmable money part, but to look at what China did was they tested their population to say, hey, would y'all be interested in taking some free money, but you got to do this app. Now, understand about what this app means. This app is technically you opening a bank account. I'm gonna make another correlation for you. Numbers have been coming out in the US talking about how employment is doing this inch up thing, right? Sorry, unemployment is inching up again. Right. Job destruction is moving at a faster rate than job creation in the US, which means more people are losing their jobs. It's a whole nother scenario about how many people are actually applying for unemployment. But yet banks are reporting, or the agencies that look at banks and the banking, like as far as like how many people are opening a saving account, who's opening a CD, who's opening a checking account, the numbers are showing it's growing for the amount of people who are opening bank accounts. Why is this happening? What is not generally being explained in the numbers is that they are counting the chimes, they are counting Venmo, they're counting PayPal. PayPal is a bank. We're gonna get to PayPal soon.
We're gonna get to PayPal.
Cash App is a bank. Okay. What is it? Kraken just got their Wyoming charter to be a bank. Okay. If you don't know what Kraken is a crypto-based third-party custodial exchange where you could, basically buy and sell and trade cryptocurrencies, right? So now I say all of that to say this. You have this argument saying that, hey, if unemployment is increasing, job destruction is increasing, how are more people opening bank accounts? And what does this mean when you open these new bank accounts? It means you're going into the system that you don't necessarily control. At least, let me frame it this way. I'm saying you are going into a system and into a platform where you do not actually control the money. Okay. People forget that a bank, or most people don't understand, like when you deposit your money into the bank then has the right to either hold your money, lend out your money, and not give you back your money.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, I think that's one of the misconceptions that a lot of people, they actually know how money works. There's a lot of different zeros and ones that's going across these lines, and a lot of people just think, hey, well, I have this, this $100 in my pocket, or I have this in my bank, and not really realizing exactly what's going on. It's like, okay, look, you have pretty much been made into a child, right? They have told you that you cannot be the custodian of your money. You cannot put your money under your mattress anymore. You have to give it to us, and then we can piece it back out to you. Now, at the same time, we can give your money, your hard-earned money, your mattress money that you've had for all these years. We're gonna give it out to everyone, and we're gonna charge them a super high rate, just like we do on everyone else, so we can cover our costs and cover everything else. So your money will technically always be there, but realistically, it's only zeros and ones. And like I said, we've been put into the mindset that we are children when it comes to money. So we're not to be allowed to use it, to do anything with it, unless some governing authority is telling us or giving us the right to do so.
Yes. And just so I can wrap it up on the CBDC thing, what really makes this the changer, the game changer, right, is that the way the system is set up now, the way that people who have access to a bank, whether they using Chime, PayPal, or whatever, or a traditional Wells Fargo, Bank of America, HSBC, whatever,
right,
there is a layer that exists between whatever your central whatever jurisdiction you're in, as far as like your central bank, right? Your central bank, your commercial retail bank, and then you. Okay.
Right.
What central banks are looking to do, and what the IMF is looking to do with their whole thing of the CBDC, is say, we're going to cut off the commercial bank, we're going to cut off the retail bank, and we're just going directly to you. Okay. Right. And this also means at a certain point, they're going in the States, we have credit unions. Credit unions, as I see it, with the direction that the CBDC thing is going to go in, aka the blue dogs, it's going to end up, I would argue credit unions are going to be on the chopping block. I don't know if they'll be the first part of the chopping block or the end part of the chopping block, but for how this conversation and how the CBDCs can potentially function, there's no need to have the commercial bank. There's no need to have the retail bank. So then there's no need to have a credit union, because you're getting money from the central producing minter, right, of the money. And it's literally in a digital format. So it's you, the bank, and what's his face? Not Rupert Murdoch. Is that who I'm thinking of? It's, put it this way. It's you, Wells Fargo, and Jamie Dimon are all getting money from the same source.
Right.
Literally, that's how the CBDC thing would work out. And then on top of it, it gets into the thing of being able to program the money. So here's the catch-22 of it is, you lose all your privacy. And then as far as when you accept the money, it comes with strings attached.
Right.
It might not be set up that way, quote, now. Right. But the tech folks, the dev folks, they understand how down the road this can play out, where we can say, hey, you can't spend money on certain things. You can't spend at a certain time, or you have to spend at a certain time. And if you don't spend it within a given amount of time, we're going to take some of it back.
Right. Negative interest. So you know what? There's going to be there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out of this. And I wanted to also touch on a couple of different areas as we're talking about banks, right? Because a lot of people, like I said, we have a lot of institutions that we've always put our faith in, right? Mm-hmm. And banking is being one of them. Now with the introduction of Bitcoin and a lot of different ways of trying to get away from traditional banking, I want to also talk about another part of the banking industry that has recently come up in the media today. So let's switch over to that. And I want to preface this by, giving a big shout out to Mike.
Yo, he's on the grind, bro.
And he is doing his thing. So a big shout out to Killer Mike for everything he's doing with Greenwood. I definitely want to give props on him. Give props to him for everything he's doing with that, because it is something that we really need to start looking into, to figuring out a different way of managing our money, to either give money back into the community, where it's kind of we're helping ourselves. That being said, now I'm going to put up another quoted tweet from someone else that we both know, and I wanted to preface her statement.
Oh, I think I know. Okay.
With what we're talking about here. So we're talking about the central banks. We're talking about the smaller institutions. We're talking about black banking. We're talking about all the things that we're doing right now, right? So I wanted to preface that statement with Tavania and Guaccoin, right? So if you were not on this a couple of months ago, we had Tavania Evans on talking about Guaccoin and all the things that she's doing in the community, with crypto, within tech, with new network. She's doing a lot of things in the space. But she put out a tweet a couple of days ago, I guess, saying, becoming a remarketer for banks, starting another black bank, it's not obviously not the answer. It's, there's a lot of other stuff in there, but it's more about is this something that we really should be doing at this time because of the way things are going right now? So just give me your 2 cents on some of that. Like I said, I've purposely orchestrated the way I was going to put this all together, right? So we're talking about banks, we're talking about black banks, we're talking about all the other good stuff that's coming out of it, the CBDCs and Bitcoin. So you have the floor.
All right. So when I saw her post, I didn't know about Mike's joint.
Right.
But if you have ever spoken to me, you know I am a history person. And I'm not saying history tells us everything, especially when it comes to the popular narrative side or versions of history. But when you come across the things that give you the jewels and connect the dots and put the names on paper for you, you really need to pay attention to how you see things going on currently around you. I say that to say this. There was a book I read that my guy Tyrone Ross put me on to. He's a financial advisor out of New York, Jersey area. And it's called The Color of Money. I forgot the name of the lady. She's a professor out in California now, but she wrote this book. I'm not gonna lie, it's a long book, but if you want to understand why Black people in the U.S. have continually, for multiple generations, had issues with financial institutions, financial infrastructure, generational wealth, the black dollar, black money velocity, all of that, read that book. It will put the dots and the names together. And it's just like, oh, so you mean the New Deal really actually messed up Black people as a whole, as a community? Like, you mean that we had banks going back to like the 20s, but then we had banks that we could put money in and not actually get a loan from? You'd have banks in Harlem and like the hood in Chicago that you could put money in, but you couldn't do a loan with, and they was giving the money in the white neighborhoods. How'd that work?
Yeah, so yeah, I know that book. I actually have that book in ebook form. You can go over and check that out at unitedblackbooks.org. They have some somebody put me on game on United Black Library, and I've been going there ever since. So go check out United Black Books. But yeah, The Color of Money, and I think it's called like the big black banks in the history of Black banking in America, something like that, and with the wealth gap. It's something like that.
I forget what the subtitle is on it, but basically it's called The Color of Money. You can definitely find it, and it really starts connecting the dots. Now, in regards to Killer Mike and what he's doing, I'm not knocking him for it. Again, I agree with Tavania and what she said. Like, my whole thing is, and I'm gonna use the jail mentality, the jail reference in this, the prison reference. If I am the prisoner in the system, I cannot go to the guard and be like, hey, you don't give me the keys so I can walk up out of here? Like, it don't work like that. And that's my whole thing about looking at this money situation.
Right.
For the folks who are arguing, oh, CBDCs are going to be great because it helps and it brings inclusion. It helps the people who aren't banked become banked. What they're telling you is it helps bring the people in who they can't financially control and limit and augment as to their choosing. That's what they're really saying.
Right.
I'm not, I definitely would say I would look to support the effort of what Killer Mike and them is doing. It's just one of those things of like, our history shows us that if you look to play by the rules of the system that you're being told you're in, all they have to do is move the goalpost when you get to a certain point.
Right.
And that's what happens every time. Yo, you know what is another book that I read that like really solidified this for me too? What was it? Trails of Tears, or what was it? Wounded Knee, which talks about like how they move the indigenous people from one point to the next. Right. And bro, like, I kid you not, when it came to the policies, practices, and procedures, it was just one breaking the rule after another.
Right.
And they did it the whole time through up to this day to the indigenous folks we call Native Americans here in the States. So you got those folks who are like on the outskirts of the system. We over here trying to play on the inside of the system in the sandbox. And then all of a sudden, they move the sandbox. And then we still looking at it going, wait, how do we get outside the sandbox? Like,
right. And go ahead. No, go ahead.
Like, it's a frustrating thing, bro. Like, and what annoys me is because of how we are taught to understand and look at history in non-contextual terms, non-cross-referencing terms. I'm a big believer in cross-referencing data, bro. Right. Cross-referencing information. So if you tell me something about what's going on in 1920 over here in the States, and we talking about, Louis Hamel, we talking about like the Harlem Renaissance and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, cool. So what was going on over in England? What was going on with Winston Churchill and the conversations and the comments he was making about what was going on in England, right? I like to cross-reference things because it gives a better context as to how your environment is really acting. Right. If you only go ahead, bro.
No, I was just going to say it's a special skill that comes with that. Especially like a lot of us, especially in tech, some of us work with data, and you can look at a lot of different things on the surface. Right, anybody can come up with some type of, stat or any type of, put some numbers together and say, hey, look at this. This is what it is. And then you start digging and drilling down into the data and say, okay, so exactly why did this happen? Not necessarily this arbitrary number that you just came up with. And so you start looking and like, all right, look, I need to see, you just can't give this to me in Excel. Because it's not going to give me that drill down version. It's going to be able to like, well, what other extenuating factors caused this? Instead of just saying,
how about, okay, so let me, I'm not a quant person. I'm a qualitative person. So I don't necessarily run hard with numbers, but if you give me enough information on stuff, like I like to see how it connects together.
Exactly.
There's a dude, what's his name? George something, who wrote the Diary of an Economic Hitman, right? It's something that he said in the early beginning of his book. And as I've talked to more statistician type folks, more economic folks, it has definitely rang true. And he was saying how when he would go into countries and do his part as far as like saying to them, hey, you should take out this loan. This is what the IMF was doing to folks. They would send in certain companies in contract after a country got messed up because of some kind of political upheaval or like some kind of war situation, and be like, hey, we'll give you the money to help you rebuild your company. They would have these economic projection folks come in and give these grandioso outward production scalable statistics on how if they took out the loan and then use the contracting company that was usually a European or an American company to build the facility, they would then be able to scale out their economy because it would mean more job production and it would work out for the bigger economy and how they can move forward. But it would take, around that like 20-year, 30-year, 40-year projection. And so one of the things he said, though, was that even if they knew that the real numbers for what it would mean for the country to be able to pay back the debt in the time allotted in order to not have to give up their natural resources, they always fixed it that it would work, that it would make sense on paper. But then when the country took the loan out, started giving out the money in the contracts in like 5 years, they always had an issue.
Right.
And they always ended up losing out.
Ask China, right?
Bro, you see what they're doing to Africa right now? Like, it's...
I mean, yeah. there's a lot of things going on right now where China is like, hey, we'll build an airport, we'll do all these different things, but at the same time, we got to move in our troops, we got to move in our workers, we got to move in all these different things. We need to, we know there's no possible way for you to be able to pay this back. So We're just going to start confiscating land, confiscating
resources,
everything else. Like, whoa, okay. Does it make sense at the end of the day to really dig into that contract to say, okay, what am I giving away? What's the worst case scenario of this? And I think that's a lot of the issues that a lot of countries have, where their eyes might get big with that initial number or the possibilities to see what they can do to stabilize their country or something, or some of their efforts. But at the same time, the destabilization is going to come on the back end very swift, and I don't think they're actually incorporating that into their view or into their scheme of things.
Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts on that, on the part of, and again, let me say it this way. I am the Westerner who is Americanized, who is first generation American, right? I've only been to Africa one time so far, and that was this year. And that was going into Johannesburg. And like we talked about that whole trying to make it out.
Hey, that was interesting.
and so I didn't get to do a full in dive into the other countries that I wanted to go to. But from the little that I do understand, and just seeing how things have played out and are playing out right now, like look at what's going on in Nigeria with the whole SARS thing, right? It's one of those things where you look at the leadership and go, yo, are you actually having good intention? Or are you actually just selling out your people because you know you can exit at a certain point? Right. And when you look at the leadership that was actually around between like the 50s and the 60s. So like you looking at like Kwame Nkrumah, what's his name for Ghana, like all the folks, Lumumba and all of them, like all those folks who was like, yo, we not gonna rock with certain Western political systems or Western economic format, but we gonna do our thing and make it work. Right. They ain't last too long. Right. But the people who wanted to play the game, who wanted to get the bag, they still there. Right. I'm just saying, like, you can't really be bucking the system and quote still be there. You know what's funny? I think and question the same thing about Cuba, bro. Like, I'm so serious. Right. How you got a whole base area?
I ain't touching a lot of this, man.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. Yeah, hey, I know. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on, man. It's just like, So I want to kind of switch gears a little bit because of what we were talking about, going into whether we're doing the conventional banking, whether it's using the black banks, using these CBDCs, understanding exactly what it means to get into cryptocurrency. Now, I understand that CBDCs are not cryptocurrency, but I like to call them like the gateway drug for some people to try to get them into the digital mindset of having money that you can't necessarily touch anymore, and that it is fully digital. Obviously, the one thing on the CBDC side is all it is another, like you said, a blue dog. It's another. I just, the way I put it is, they just put a dog in a dress. Right? He dressed it up.
What do they call it? Dressing up the pig?
Makeup on it? Rottweiler. It's the same right. And he's still gonna bite you.
Right.
But, we just made it look pretty. And it's like, so we dressed it up a little bit, right?
Yo, okay. So, I want to throw this one out here for you real quick. So here's something that I wonder, how long is this going to take to play out? And I was listening to somebody's interview, or their YouTube thing, and they said something that I said, you know what? That is actually makes a lot of sense. So one is the IMF is a whole entity by itself. And then you still have the central banks for each country, right? The IMF comes out with their own CBDC. The central banks for each country come out with their own CBDC. Right. Now, everyone, when it comes to the financial stuff, especially when it like how this crypto thing is, and the financial institutions in different jurisdictions look at what the U.S. is doing, right? And if you've noticed, the U.S. is doing this thing of where they're posturing. Well, you know, we're thinking about this CBDC thing or like this digital money, but we're not really sure. We might test something out, like, you know, maybe
like JP Morgan coin or something like that, where they already have everything they brought in, and they're snatching people's blockchain environments. Yeah, okay.
but so the positioning that they're doing, because all right, I'm a big let's look at what the optics are narrative person. And so in the traditional, or at least in this global financial ecosystem, X amount of other countries will always look at what DC does for their thing, because why? The US USD is the reserve note for everybody, or at least all the people who are in the SWIFT system. Because if you also got the SIP system, you could do a whole nother game. So now they're posturing to be like, well, we're not doing anything. Now, government agency people might be having their conversation and know what's going on, but they can't say nothing to the public, because once you make that public announcement, now the market is about to do something hectic.
Right.
So you can't say the public thing officially, but all you could do is like, well, you know, we're thinking about it. Mind you, Venezuela did their thing. Iran is doing their thing. China did their thing. Switzerland or Sweden is doing their thing. Everyone's already like, boom, we out the gate. We ain't even waiting for you.
Right.
But we posturing.
Yeah, everything's going to go topsy-turvy once we say we're
once we officially say something.
You know, that's $6 trillion in the Forex market right now. So we have a lot of things that's going daily. 6 trillion daily. You know, that's going in the Forex area, right? So once these things start changing, you know, everything is going to take it's like any type of information, you know, whether it's stocks or whatever, you know, they're just waiting for that one piece of information, and then like something going to bottom or something going to spike, you know.
So the real observant people will understand how to take the subtleties in language.
Right.
The people who are more like, I need hard official, they'll be the ones who kind of wait. The folks who don't even know that the conversation happened, they're going to be the ones that are the, what do they call them? The bag holders.
Yeah.
There's another point that I wanted to make on top of that one, and I'll remember it at some point, but continue where you were going.
So, yeah, so I think we're about to cross over into my next point here. All right, so one of the things that we, like I said, I think as a society, not just us, but as a society as a whole, needs to realize exactly where this is going when it comes into relation to cryptocurrency, especially with Bitcoin. Now, there's something that's been in the news, and like I said, unless you're in the crypto space, you're probably not paying attention to it. But I am going to let's switch over to that screen now. And so we got a lot of public traded companies. Grayscale. This is actually an old graphic. They're way beyond 449,000 Bitcoins right now. Now, mind you, there's only 21 million ever going to be Bitcoin. And this company is already in the 600,000 Bitcoin range. So we have 8 companies that are roughly about 800,000, just say a million. They already have 1 million of the 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be available. Great. Grayscale, like I said, they're buying it up as fast as it can probably be minted. So with that being said, I think as we see that this Bitcoin grab is happening, I think the sense of urgency really needs to start kicking in with a lot of people to understand exactly where things is going in this world. As we see the introduction of CBDCs and digital currencies being more prevalent in different parts of the world, as we see all of these publicly traded companies pretty much stockpiling all the Bitcoin, where do you see, what is your advice to the community as a whole to say, hey, look, maybe this is something that you haven't already said many years in advance, to say, hey, look, maybe you should start looking into this Bitcoin and crypto space, because something I think as a person who are early adopter, because we're still under the 2% of people in America that has even thought about buying Bitcoin. So, but that being said, what can we say differently that may prompt or urge people to start looking into Bitcoin and digital currency a little bit more seriously?
All right. I'm going to jump back on one last point. The CBDC things is going to be part of the facilitator that brings a new level of currency wars. If you think what's going on between us and China is like, oh my God, they're downgrading their thing for their money and then it's messing us up, wait till CBDCs are like across the board on all the different countries, and IMF got their version, and like every country has their version. It's going to be a whole new level of currency wars.
Right.
That's for the economic money tracking folks. You think about this. This next decade is going to really introduce that. As far as everybody else and what we are, or what or how, if you have internet access, and this was my point earlier today about the whole PayPal situation.
Right.
One of the pros that were argued or promoted about the PayPal thing was, oh, well, they're going to give access to 300 and something million people. That's that number trickery thing that we was just talking about.
Right.
If what is really being said is they are going to allow people who did not take the time to figure out how to get in a easier, convenient way to get in, but it will come with strings attached.
Right.
That's
right.
what they're saying.
Right.
Why do I say this? Because if you had internet access, you were already able to get crypto in your own way. You can either work for it. Oh, I write term papers, or I help, tutor people, or I am a dog walker or a dog groomer, and I accept cryptos. You push this out to the people who have whatever the thing is that you want. Is it Digicoin? Is it Bitcoin? Is it Bitcoin Cash? It is Ethereum? Whatever, right? You have them pay you that way. You download a free crypto wallet and you get your money in that way. If you want to say, well, I don't have a skill, or I don't have anything that I would do that I can do something like that side hustle thing. I don't want to do that. Okay, guess what? They got this thing called Bitwage. Bitwage works where you can have a regular 9-to-5 job. You fill out the form and stuff, you send it to them, and then they'll make it that your money, if your company does direct deposit, they got to do direct deposit.
Right.
You get the money, and it's split between the fiat and it's split between I think they only do Bitcoin right now, or they might have upgraded to another one. But the point is, this option was here more than 2 years ago.
Right.
If you in the States, you had this option more than 2 years ago. If you have internet access, you already had access to crypto. What I'm annoyed with what's going on with this PayPal thing is they are conditioning people to think they need permission to have crypto, to hold crypto, to spend crypto. You
Right.
don't. The whole initial thing about this was a P2P, person to person.
Right.
But the narrative is being augmented by, in my mind, X amount of financial folks who don't want to be pushed out of their power position.
Right. Right. And you know what? I think that's with any especially in the tech industry. I've been in tech for 20 years or so, and as things were starting to progress toward the cloud, you saw a lot of naysayers, a lot of people who was, system engineers and stuff like that. That was also always working in physical data centers. They was like, nah, this cloud, we don't want none of it. Because at the same time, it was a reason not to be progressive because, hey, look, now I either have to skill up or my job is about to be, antiquated because everything is going to change in a different way where I don't necessarily need to be in a physical data center to flip a button or to hit a switch or press, I don't have to necessarily be there anymore. Everything is going to be in an Azure cloud or AWS or whatever it's going to be. So you have that same type of mentality that's going to be happening in the financial industry where it's going to be like, hey, look, no, we still want to be in control of your money, whether it's supposed to be peer to peer, where it's like, hey, look, I want to be able to send something to my family, right? Maybe or maybe not, whatever. But at the same time, I want to have that to do it and just be like, hey, look, cousin, this is going straight to you. I don't need no mediary in the, they're just gonna be sitting there just kind of like, hey, look, hey, we'll give it to your cousin if you want to, but we got to take a cut.
We got to take a cut. And you got to give up X amount of info for us.
Exactly, right? Yeah, I mean that's the other part we're talking about. Whether it's going to be that Google search or everything else. Now you're knowing exactly what I'm doing. That's why I'm totally against Venmo because people just go through the Venmo world. They'd be like, look.
When I first saw Venmo and how that joint worked, I said, who? And mind you, that was the default setting to publicly show who, and they gave name. So if you had your government name as your handle on there, you knew name. Here's something else that I want to throw in there. And I'm gonna go back to the thing about like what you need to understand as things move forward.
Right.
These new banks, these new financial institutions, these app-based things, realize what is also happening while you have this new convenience. Eventually, you will have your spending and receiving habits reported to the IRS. Right. If nobody don't think that's coming, you straight fooling yourself. Coinbase is already selling your information to the government. It was a freebie on the first bag that they gave them. Now they figured out how to make a revenue model off of it and selling your stuff to the IRS and selling your stuff to I forgot the name of the other agency. But the point being is that they selling you one side of convenience and how you can do quick trades and sells. And then on the other side of it, they collecting all the information and being like, listen, IRS, Marcus Latanos over there at blah, blah, blah address. He done did this many transactions. They went to these and these wallets. And here's how much we think y'all might. Let me not even I don't think they figuring out like what your actual IRS thing is supposed to be, but they definitely giving them the numbers on what you're doing and then who you sending it to and who you receiving it from.
And you know what?
If they're in the system.
You know what? Hey, perfect segue. Because I wanted to touch on Coinbase, right?
Yo,
oh my God! So
shout out to Clev Mesidor. Clev has been going in on this.
Clev has been on their butt. I'm telling you, since day one. So a little background of what Coinbase has started doing, right? So one of the good things initially about Coinbase is it made it a lot easier for people to on-ramp into the crypto space, right? To be able to, to say, all right, look, I don't really know what I'm doing. I can get an account. Bam, it made it a lot easier to, just, attach to your bank account or whatever and buy your crypto, right? But within the last, as one of these tweets says, on September 27th, it all went out the window with some of the things that this space has always meant, right? So what Coinbase has started doing is pretty much saying, hey, look, I understand that we are technically, the crypto space is a disruptive one. But in this space, it's not going to be disruptive anymore because we've sold out to the government.
Hold on, I'm gonna challenge you on that. I'm going to challenge you on that. I do not think Coinbase ever sold out. I think that Coinbase always had the agenda to be a new version of banks and be in regards to be integrated into the traditional systems and the government side of it. Also, as far as this whole thing is going with the corporate environment thing and like, you know, social protesting and all that.
Right.
The thing that got me with his blog that he did on Medium, and for those of you who want to look into it, he already changed it. It doesn't read like what the initial blog was.
Right.
He took some things out of it and reworded some stuff. And shout outs again to Clev for calling it out. All right.
Clev has been on it, I'm telling you.
Clev been on it. But where I want to go with that is this is what his agenda was from the get-go. They didn't even if you look at, like, you know, what has been in the earlier days of the events that they promoted or the events that their name was attached to, it didn't change how they were moving as a corporate. It didn't change the trajectory to be able to be official bank charter. And like this whole thing about how he's not for social activism, like he publicly states not being for social activism. And people are like, well, who wants to go to work and have people argue all day about political view stuff? Listen, even though he said he don't want to deal with that stuff, right, he still is down for corporate activism. Why do I say that? Because they had to do X amount of lobbying work to get the contracts that they have right now with the government. They also had to do X amount of lobbying, which is activism, in order to be able to get, what's his name, Brandon, what is it, Brandon Brooks? The dude who used to be the head of their legal department.
Okay.
He's now the guy who signed into official policy. Banks are able to hold cryptocurrencies. That guy used to work with Coinbase. He did not get it.
They sacrificed a they sacrificed a pawn to get a business, right? You know, so
like if you've been paying attention to this thing, and shout outs to my guy Bitcoin Zay and King, Ken Bozak, like a couple of other folks who also been on this thing too. But those folks, like the folks who are paying attention to this thing, as far as who's moving where.
Right.
That's the thing right now. Who's moving where? Yeah. Okay.
It might all be strategic to a point where it's like, hey, we cut ties with this person, and now they're getting moved into a supervisory role or something somewhere else, right?
So he ended up being in one of the, I forgot what the department was, in a total, like a related position to where he is now, but it wasn't the same like level and had the same authority and power.
Right.
And then like within 6 months, all of a sudden, he's the head guy now. Within like another like 2 months, it comes out, oh yeah, so yeah, banks can now hold crypto. It's officially written in policy. Wait, who did that? Oh, it was that guy, Brandon. Wait, what? Isn't that the dude from Coinbase? Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that.
Right, exactly. Smoke and mirrors at all times, man.
There's that situation happening, and then there's two people that I'm looking at the SEC side, right? What's her face? Hester Pierce. She is, I think she just extended for another term, which is like a 5-year period.
Right.
Watch where Hester goes after 2025. It ain't gonna be in another government department. I will 9 times out of 10, she will not end up in another government department. She's gonna be in the private sector.
Right.
I'm saying it now. I'm probably gonna forget it come next year.
It's gonna be fine, man. This is YouTube. It's gonna be here for a minute, so you know we come back and look at it in 2025 and see what's up.
Right, and here's why I say this, because I see how they were building her into the narrative as being the crypto mom. Right. You cannot be juxtaposed. Right. You cannot be a part of an agency or entity that is juxtaposed to the concept and the values of crypto, the crypto community, the crypto space, and starting from a cypherpunk mindset, and then be like, oh, well, that person's the crypto like she's down. No, dog. If you ever listen to her interviews, she really gives you no inclination to what's going on in the SEC when it comes to that.
Right.
She'll just be like, well, you know, we're looking at it, we're adjusting it. I can't talk for the other members, and my personal thing is da 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 da. But then she never really like gives a yes, it's gonna work out like how we talked about the initial core values of it, the initial principles of it, the initial mindset. No, she does not. And anybody want to challenge me on that, you are more than welcome to.
Right.
Okay. I'm just saying, look at where she ends up after 2025.
Right.
Back to the thing that you were saying about like what do people need to know? What you need to know at the end of the day, if you like, I don't want to deal with none of that digital blah blah blah, whatever techie you talking money thing, you need to understand you are at a crossroad right now, right? Where the medium of money is being upgraded. You at a certain point will not have the option to be able to say, I don't want to deal with that digital stuff. Okay. Whether you're 55 right now, if you live for another 30 years, guess what? You will be dealing with cryptocurrency in some capacity. You will be dealing with CBDCs in some capacity. Why? Because we've already gotten past the part of the let's play around to see if the code works, or let's see if the digital stuff works. Right. We've had a number of different examples. Shout outs to Ross Ulbricht, by the way, for showing a valid proof, in my opinion, and by X amount of economic standards, that you can have a free open market and use cryptocurrency and actually have real price discovery. The only other system that has that is the jail and prison system. I got cigarettes, you got sneakers, you got Snickers, you got a sport, like exchange of value. Right. Anywho, digression, right? I know I'm dropping a lot on folks right now, and X amount of the stuff I'm saying, you probably gonna have to Googly or DuckDuckGo it, preferably. But the stuff that I'm saying, I'm not gonna say it's the basics, but the one thing you need to understand, the medium, the way that you store it, you hold it, you spend it, that medium is changing. Right. If you are a 60-year-old, you live for another 10, 15 years, you're going to be dealing with it at some point. That's not an option for you not to deal with it unless you just totally step outside of the system. And I can tell you right now, most folks in like first tier countries and Western countries ain't about that life.
Right. So, you know what? I want to switch over into what we've already started touching on a little bit. And it is going to be, let's see, let's bring that up. All right, so we started talking about it already, but PayPal pretty much entering the crypto space. You know, now the thing about, you know, this tweet is from Ledger. So if you are a Ledger holder, person who's already using crypto, you might want to look into Ledger for a cold wallet and to be able to secure your crypto that way. But they put out a tweet talking about PayPal. Now, as we saw this morning, there was a lot of stuff going on with this PayPal announcement. Look, I had to change this slide from this morning. I had the initial from Pop, right? That was like, hey, you can buy it, you can sell it, you can do all this, you know, best thing since sliced bread with PayPal. Then it was like, then all the other parts of it started coming out saying, oh, well, guess what? You really can't do all of that. You know, you will be able to, you can
Robinhood
into your current PayPal strategies, but to be able to, you know, send it and do everything else with it, yeah, you're not going to be able to do that at this time. In the crypto space, we always have this one motto: not your keys, not your crypto. And this definitely holds true to this PayPal situation here. So because now there are a couple of apps out there, like I said, I try to give people the straight up and say, look, you're gonna definitely want to go to exchange, do this type of thing to start getting your crypto. Now, for those early adopters or the people who are just trying to get into it, is like, hey, I don't know if this thing is going to work. Some people may go to like Cash App or Robinhood or some of these things just to start to try it, right? And say, I'll buy like $10 of it and see what happens.
Okay, we got to throw some caveats out there, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, look, I don't want to be totally in the dark, but I'm gonna just stick with this Robinhood or some Cash App and just see what it does from here before I cross all the way over into being a crypto head, right?
All right, let's put some caveats in there, context. If you are totally new and you are not going to do the work to understand how to be able to move in and out of this system, the Coinbase makes sense. Abra makes sense. But understand, as he just said, proof of keys. Proof of keys is every January 3rd. It basically means if you have crypto on a centralized exchange, you pull your crypto out and put it into your own personal wallet, whether it be a hard wallet, a smart wallet, something, a soft wallet as far as being software, something on your phone, or actual physical wallet, which I don't even have one around me right now.
Right.
But the point being is that this is how we in the crypto space do our economic stress tests, because you got exchanges out there who holding your stuff, and then they out there doing their own version of rehypothecation and doing wash trading with it. Okay?
Right.
You traders know what I'm talking about. I am really going to be in a full-on push of pushing the whole proof of keys going forward, because this PayPal situation is that perfect example. Like I said, what they're really saying is we're going to get people into the system that we can control. Again, if you had internet, you already had access to crypto. You just didn't understand how to get it. Right. PayPal is telling you their version of how to do it, and they're giving it to you with strings attached. They do the same thing Robinhood is doing. Yo, shout outs to what's her name? Tanya, Professor, and I cannot remember her last name right now. Edward. Yeah. So she had did a post the other day where somebody signed up for her class, which she talks about like the different types of cryptocurrencies and understanding like the blockchain stuff. Right. They signed up ahead of taking her class through Robinhood, bought some crypto, only to then find out they could not pull the Bitcoin from off of the Robinhood app. That's not how that works, folks. That's not what this thing is supposed to be about. And so when I woke up this morning and I seen this whole thing going on about PayPal, and I mean like the echo chamber was real this morning.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see the whole price talk news doing what that's doing. And this is like, oh, okay, so all right, we're just gonna talk about all the highlights and make it sound like this is 100% net positive. It's not. It's literally a path back to the system that you was already complaining. Well, the system that those of us who got in early, who understood what made the recession in 2008 happen, who understand what's going on right now with the money go brr, who understand that we're in a recession right now, who understand that these numbers don't add up. You can't have an increasing number of unemployed people, but yet somehow bank accounts keep opening up. Yet somehow people are still spending. What are you spending? Where are you getting the money to spend from? The government. Technically, this is socialism in play, monetary socialism. Technically. Okay. Again, I know I dropped a lot of stuff, but that's why there's a rewind button so you can go through and look up these phrases and things that I'm talking about. Okay. And again, this thing with the PayPal, they're a bank. They're just a new version. They're a blue dog. That's it. They still and what you know what else got me too about X amount of the tweets that I saw, and like even on LinkedIn, people weren't talking about the con side of it. People weren't acknowledging, yo, You know, PayPal actually freezes and holds money for people who have legitimate transactions, who have done their due process in regards to giving up the needed documentation or PII as far as how their account is set up. And I'm not talking about that moral skew judgment stuff, right? That whole thing of like, well, you know, if you're in the sex trade or the adult industry, well, you know, that's kind of, no, we're not doing moral signaling. The point is, they are censoring and they are also holding people's legitimate hard-earned money.
Right.
That's not right. Bottom line.
Yeah, because just if there's a service or something or an actual thing that you paid for, and then you want to contest it, and now all of a sudden, everything is in question. They're going to freeze your account, even after a service that you already performed, or something that you've already sent. Or if whether it's I have a lot of people that's in the art and they're sending out artwork and doing whatever, or you can send all of these things and then have a dispute with PayPal, and then everything is frozen until there's a whole bunch of investigation or whatever going through, right? So exactly, so there's a lot of different things that you are pretty much, you put your money, it's a money trap that you're pretty much putting yourself into. And now, I mean, you've already done it in one way, but now you're putting yourself in a further trap because now they can control your crypto, and you can't even get rid of it. It's like,
okay, so I'm gonna throw this one out here, right? When it is publicly acknowledged that PayPal is a bank and they start doing things like brick and mortar banks, imagine how much money they got sitting in reserve from accounts that they done froze, from transactions that they done held on. You got to remember how long PayPal's been around. That gotta be what, over 500,000 by now?
At least.
Like, I need y'all to put this in perspective and understand. And I'm talking about, we're not talking about money laundering for all you folks who want to run down that rabbit hole in terrorism. At the end of the day, the USD is still the #1 medium of exchange for money laundering and terrorism. But nobody's talking about banning the American dollar. So let's just throw that out the window. I love you compliance people. I know some cool compliance people here in the States and up north in Canada. I rock with y'all, but like, stop selling it as a one-sided pro argument. Like, no, bro. Like, you got to really be truthful about how this system is set up.
Exactly. I mean, hey, that sounds like some what's our favorite senator always talking about his views for the black market, and I'm like, hey, I seen something today, and I'm like, look, bro, you still talking that, and it's the same rhetoric that he's been saying for the last however long years, just saying that crypto is only used by for nefarious opportunities and stuff like that. I'm like, look, I think there's a lot more things that you can actually do with crypto besides that. But at the same time, like you said, the USD has been around a lot longer than crypto, and there's been a lot more things that's just like, wait a minute, how were they paying for these things before? How were they paying for these for sex trafficking before, or human trafficking, or drugs, or whatever it's going to be? How was they paying before Bitcoin existed? Right. So exactly. So don't give me that. Right. So
we gotta definitely jump on another session about this one, because I have a whole nother thought process of how people are promoting this, like, oh, Bitcoin is gonna bring equality and Bitcoin is gonna do all of this social justice stuff.
Right.
It's a money medium. And if we still keep pushing in this direction to have it be centralized and then governed by authorities and entities that do not have our best interests at heart, what makes you think any of these social ailments are actually going to change? This is another reason why I think CBDCs are going to contribute to make the currency wars, and they're going to make the economic wealth gap even bigger, in my opinion, for how it will play out further down the road. So time-wise, I'm funny right now. But I know we were supposed to talk about the whole Ice Cube situation because of
Yeah.
what the initial tweet thing was about.
Yeah.
So on that joint, I didn't know what was really going on with this, right? And then I seen a clip for his conversation that was with like CNN, and I was like, oh wait, hold on. So like both parties came to him. He actually had a conversation with who wanted to have a conversation with him, and then we mad at him. Really?
Yeah. You know what? And he's been getting a lot of, that heat hasn't died down yet. And it's, I mean, you see all the memes, you see all the jokes, you see a whole bunch of different things that's coming out of it. There's a lot more things that, and even in your tweet, you said, I was like, look, we're looking at the wrong things. It's like there's some, that whole instance of, saying, hey, look, I'm gonna try to talk to whomever wants to talk to me, right? If they, like, hey, this is like if you go to, a bank or something like that, and you say you go to Bank A, and Bank A says, well, I'm not going to give you a loan. And you're like, okay, well, you go to Bank B, and then say, hey, Bank B gives you a loan, and then you're like, hey, then why didn't you shop at Bank A? I'm like, hey,
I went to Bank A. They didn't want to mess with me. Okay, and so here's the other thing that I find so, like, in regards to American memory and the American cultural dynamics and understanding. Americans are not historically Democratic voters. That is not even 100-year-old thing in regards to the Black community and American context of how we voted. Okay, so people who are now like, well, why would you go talk to Trump? You're a Democrat. Blue, 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 blue. Historically, we've not voted like that. Only in the last like 50 or 60 something years. That's a relative new transition for our voting block power, right? And then when you look at it, if you actually look at, like, again, if you read the book, The Color of Money,
right,
you will understand that the Democrats did not help the Black people as a whole in regards to the American context.
Right.
Like, time and time again, we voted for certain people, they may get up to certain levels of office, and then when you look at what policies and procedures come out of their administration, it did not help us as a whole collective, especially when you start comparing us to other groups who have been in America in, X amount of decades time period, as well as the people who are newly arriving to America. Like, that's what it, again, I'm a history person, and it'd be really killing me when I hear people say certain stuff where it's just like, but like our history and the system, and like when you put these things together and you cross-reference it, it shows you we didn't initially vote this way. And if we really looking at it from a real objective standpoint, you really trying to go, well, who's actually going to work with me and actually put some stuff up front that I can cash in on, and I'm gonna come back for the rest of it. We're not even trying to have that conversation.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of intersection in a lot of things that we do, whether it is just being, understanding exactly what's going on, where we've been, to understand where we're trying to go, understanding, whether it is, like I said, whether it is in the banking industry, whether it is in politics, whether it is in what's in our best favor, right? Trying to work in our best favor, and everything is going to, we have to start, doing the research, doing the type of just that type of research to say, look, we need to make some changes. Everything that what is it? Einstein said, we can't necessarily, create, solve the equation with the same thinking that we had when we created it. So some of the things that we're going to really need to do is we're really going to have to start looking into a lot of different avenues. Whether it is a new form of banking, whether it is a new form of politics, whether it is a new form of, just, like I said, a new form of thinking to be able to, to progress as a whole.
I'm gonna throw two things together, right? So there's a book called Crystallizing Public Opinion, is written by a guy named Edward Bernays. He is the one who actually built the career and the legacy of Sigmund Freud with his daughter. It's her cousin. So what is it? Sigmund Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, started a company called I can't remember the name of the company, but basically he worked with the government and the private sector, and it was about basically social engineering. And so again, what I do as far as how my company and stuff goes is I look at trying to figure out how to build the brand echo for companies that are related to the blockchain crypto space. Understanding things like that was going on in the 1920s and the 30s and the 40s has greatly influenced how I look at what's going on today when you add it into the digital context of being able to get your signal past the noise.
Right.
What am I saying for folks who are like, what the hell? He's saying a lot of words. What you see in front of you is not always what it really is. Meaning, as far as marketing and narrative goes, as far as brand voice goes, how I look at it, the idea is to be able to take a person from a position of standstill, whether they are for or against something, and then through different data points, through different exposure touch points, meaning like, are you in conversations with friends? That's a touch point. Are you seeing something on the news? Are you seeing something or hearing something on the radio? Did you see a billboard? Did you see a sign? If I do enough things in enough different points, I can move you to the left or the right of a subject. This is perfectly fitting what we see happening right now in this coming election. There are a lot of different things being pushed at us to move us to the left or the right of a subject, of a position, whether we like something or whether we dislike something. All right. And I know X amount of folks are like, oh, see, now you're getting all psychology and stuff. Yo, marketing is all about psychology. And I remember when I first started really hearing the people that I was like paying attention to bringing that up, and I started reading more things like social intelligence, emotional intelligence, X amount of little like early beginner psychology books. And again, the book Crystallizing Public Opinion. And you see this stuff, and then you look at what's going on now. You look at what's going on throughout history. You look at how marketing as a one-way conversation, a monologue of a company or of a government working to build a patriotic ideal concept, right? This is what has been going on for a while, folks. And over the decades, they've gotten a lot better at it. And your Facebook helps with it.
Right. So I wanted to, I appreciate all of that. I wanted to just touch on a couple more things. And I know that you have to, you got to bounce soon. So wanted to just switch over here. I wanted to give a shout out and to, because not only is it in my background, but you also have the hoodie on.
Oh yeah, my dude, man, my dude. Like I rock with Bitcoin Zay, and you know he got the little one coming on the way.
Right.
So that dude, right?
Congratulations, Zay.
Yeah.
I wanted to give a shout out to Clev and Bitcoin and Black America books that's out there. I have one on the way, so stay tuned for that. It's not called Stay Tuned, but just stay tuned. It's going to be out soon.
Okay.
I know you. I know you. You got something in the works, right? I think
right,
so.
Right. I'm working on something, but I'm gonna try to do something a little bit different. Obviously, I'm a blockchain guy. I'm a crypto guy, so right. I'm trying to add an NFT, non-fungible token element to it. So yeah, it's a whole nother level of, you know, trying to work this thing out on the tech side of it while putting out something as far as a knowledge that is actually beneficial and helpful to people.
Right. All right, man. I appreciate you for being here. You know, there was so many nuggets that you dropped. You know, I just appreciate, you know, you coming out, you know, letting us know exactly what's to come, you know, with, you know, future of finance. There's Bretton Woods that's about to change everything, the way we do things. And just, you know, just everything, you know, it's just like, look, if you're not in Bitcoin yet, you might want to start grabbing some because yeah, those companies are out there snatching it all up.
They are, and again, understand it's not just the central, IMF thing happening as far as CBDCs. It's still, excuse me, the central bank going on within your country that's also looking to do something.
Right.
So it's not just IMF. It's your for us in the US, it'd be our central banks. For Germany, it'd be, I forgot what the name of their thing is, and then like China has their version, Australia has their version. So again, there's going to be a currency war in a whole new level in another couple of years. So,
So yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to be able to, let everybody know exactly what's going on. We are on, if you had a chance to miss some of this, you can always go back. It's going to be here on YouTube, also on Periscope. We're also available on the podcast, which is going to be Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, Breaker, you name it. It's out there, Google Podcasts. So we have a lot of different avenues for you to catch this. If you did not get a chance to see or hear everything that Trek had to say. So I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate everyone for coming out and supporting this podcast. And I will talk to you all soon. Thank you, and have a great night, Trek.
Oh, real quick. If you end up looking for me, literally just hashtag Trek with as a W, the number 2, and then KS. So TREKKW, the number 2, the letter K, and then the S.
Okay, Trek with 2 Ks, right? Yeah, I got you.
Literally just do that hashtag, my stuff pops up.
Right. All right. So yeah, so I think I got it right.
Yes, sir.
I think I put it in the chat window. Is that right? Maybe I'll stick it up here instead.
Oh, I didn't even look on that side. Oh man, yeah, that's it.
Okay. So just go ahead and put that in as a Trek with 2 Ks.
Put a hashtag in front of it.
Right.
Hashtag I will pop up.
All right. So yeah. So we'll be able to find you that way, man. So I appreciate you being here. And like I said, there was make sure y'all go and check out all of this podcast and everything that we've talked about on fredbrandon.info. If you are interested in learning more about crypto, blockchain, I also have a lot of the information available on my learning center. It's on fredbrandon.info/learn. So if you are interested in learning about crypto, I have classes there. I'm also teaching blockchain with AltHash University. So I'm doing a lot of different things in the space. So go and check me out. If you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you go follow me there. Actually, everywhere, IMF Brandon. No relation to this topic that we had today's IMF Brandon. It just happened to work out that way.
Oh man!
So just make sure y'all go check me out there. IMF Brandon, IG, New Network, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere. Go check me out. So, like I said, I appreciate you for being here and everyone for showing up and hanging out in the comments and everything. So I appreciate all of you, and we will catch y'all on the flip. All right, y'all have a nice night.
All right, y'all.
Thanks a lot.